10 people are under arrest after this video was posted online showing them allegedly riding dangerously on the road.
A return to checkpoints and quarantine passes Manila back in a lockdown to slow down its COVID-19 infections.
And paying tribute to healthcare workers, this year's NDP mobile column will cover a record 200 kilometers across the heartlands.
Good evening, you're watching The Big Story, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. I'm Olivia Quay.
And I'm Haryanto Diman, and you can subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode. Now, 10 people were arrested last month for alleged dangerous riding of personal mobility devices and power-assisted bicycles. The group comprises 8 males and 2 females between 16 and 25 years old.
Police conducted an investigation after this video surfaced online on July 13th, showing a group of riders cruising down a mostly empty Shears Avenue at night. The 10 were then arrested between July 17th and the 20th.
The police and the Land Transport Authority are investigating them for dangerous riding and riding a PMD on a road, among other offences. If convicted of dangerous riding, an offender can be jailed for up to 12 months, fined up to $5,000 or both.
If convicted of riding a PMD on a road, an offender can be jailed for up to 3 months, fined up to $2,000 or both. The police said they will not hesitate to take tough enforcement action against road users and active mobility device users who flout traffic rules and endanger the safety of others.
Journalist Toh Ting Wei joins us to take this discussion further. Ting Wei, it's been a while since the tougher measures to curb errant PMD users were introduced. But we still do see cases of errant riders on the road. For instance, the case that we just spoke about of the 10 riders along Shears Avenue. Do they form the minority? Now, generally speaking, has the situation improved since the measures were implemented?
I think if we are comparing to last November, the situation has improved quite a lot, like right after the footpath ban. Because I think if you look back at the later half of last year, the situation was really quite bad with all the accidents and really you see PMDs everywhere. So since the ban of e-scooters from footpath, I think the situation has improved quite a lot. But for this year, there aren't specific numbers, like updated numbers, but anecdotally, it seems like people are saying that after, like since the circuit breaker period onwards, it seems like there are more e-scooters coming out, especially late at night when enforcement officers aren't around. So I guess it's a good thing that we haven't seen high-profile accidents so far, but it seems like there's still a group of maybe you would call hardcore e-scooter users who are still out at night, or some even more brazenly in the day riding on the roads. So I think overall the situation has improved, but then there's this group of people that it seems like the rules, like they don't really care about the rules, so there's still the danger there.
Right. Well, last week, the LTA updated its guidelines for walking, cycling, or riding a PMD on public paths. What prompted the need to have a code of conduct for pedestrians?
So I think LTA has been saying that for the footpath sharing, it's not just about what the device users like cyclists or e-scooters do alone. It's kind of like it takes 2 hands to clap, so there's also the pedestrians that walk the footpaths. So the exact reasons I'm not so sure, but what a member of the panel, Dennis Cole, has told us the last time was that they wanted to introduce the measures to kind of advise pedestrians on how to keep themselves safe on footpath. So when this was the idea was floated late last year, there were people who were talking about, oh, this is them trying to teach pedestrians how to walk. But I guess the main thing here is that they have framed it as a recommendation rather than a law that you have to follow. So it's kind of trying to stay out the things and try to shape behavior over time to make pedestrians change their behavior and make the footpath sharing safer.
Right. So I suppose these rules, they are not punitive then, like the ones for device users, for example.
Yeah, correct. So there aren't any penalties stated in the code of conduct. And I guess like the main reason seems to be because like they want to put the emphasis on education rather than try to show you the stick and then get you to fall in line. And I was talking to Dr. Raymond Ong, one of the transport infrastructure expert at NUS just a while ago, and it was talking about how because like with punishment it's kind of reactive, and for this situation with pedestrians walking on maybe shared paths instead of sticking to footpaths is something that is really hard to enforce. Because I mean, if you look around outside your house when you walk, somehow people do like to walk on shared paths for some reason. So I mean, like if you have a law that you can't enforce and it's like happening on such a wide scale around Singapore, it kind of defeats the purpose of the law. So I think in the long term, what the Active Mobility Advisory Panel had in mind when they introduced this was to shape behavior in a way like, when we go out on escalators, we now automatically stick to the left. But there was a time when I think there wasn't this practice that people stand on the left and right. And somehow there was this campaign or education campaign to get people to stand on the left. And it really developed over time. So I think that's where the panel is headed with this.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Ting Wei, for coming on to speak with us. We were speaking to journalist Toh Ting Wei.
Here's an update on Singapore's COVID-19 situation. 295 new cases were confirmed today, taking the total here to over 53,300. Today's cases include 2 in the community, comprising a Singaporean and a work pass holder.
There were also 7 imported cases. The majority of the cases are migrant workers living in dormitories. Now, more details will be released tonight.
In the other local headlines, Singapore and the US reaffirmed their long-standing ties earlier today in a phone call that US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo made to Foreign Affairs Minister Vivian Balakrishnan. Among other things, both men agreed on the importance of ensuring COVID-19 vaccines will be available globally. They also discussed collaboration in the research and development, manufacturing and distribution of vaccines, as well as the possibility of leveraging the US's commercial presence in Singapore.
A former manager of a National Library Board department set up to spearhead its move into e-books and other digital resources has admitted to graft offences involving nearly $600,000. Ivan Koh Seong Wee had obtained the monies from Loh Pok Wen, a director of 3 firms. This in exchange for advancing the latter's business interests with NLB. Each man pleaded guilty today to 20 counts of corruption involving nearly $500,000. Another 36 similar charges linked to the remaining amount will be taken into consideration.
A Singaporean man who hid drugs inside 2 pumpkins was arrested yesterday for suspected drug trafficking activities. The pumpkins were used to conceal about 240 grams of heroin and 500 ecstasy tablets. Central Narcotics Bureau officers also seized 1.5 grams of ice and just over $2,200 in cash. In total, the drugs have a street value of about $30,000.
We are coming to you live from the Padang this Sunday morning to celebrate the nation's birthday.
Right in the heart of Sengkang,
Toh Ting Wei Hospital.
Bukit Hospital.
Live from Changi Airport.
The Red Lions are scheduled to arrive from the sky any moment now.
be sure to celebrate Singapore's 55th birthday with us on a very special NDP show that's coming to you live this Sunday, August 9th from 9:30 a.m.
From the parade at the Padang to the Red Lions in the Heartlands, we'll have you covered from start to finish, so be sure to join us.
Over in the Philippines, Manila and 4 surrounding provinces are under lockdown once again for 2 weeks starting today. This comes as the country reported 6,352 new COVID-19 cases today, another daily high.
Restricting some 27 million people, the tougher measures include stopping all forms of public transport and allowing a limited number of businesses to operate. People have been ordered to stay home unless they need to buy essential goods or exercise outdoors.
The Straits Times' Philippines correspondent Raul Dancel joins us from Manila. Now, Raul, having endured one of the world's longest lockdowns previously from March 16 to June 1st, how is the public reacting to being put under another lockdown?
Well, most agree here that the lockdown is needed. Right now, you can't simply go to a hospital and expect to be admitted. People are in fact dying because they would wait until they're on the brink of death before they go to the hospital. And what usually happens is that they go from one hospital to another. Usually, the fourth one they go to, that's the one that will admit them. And by then, they're already dead. No? You see, roughly 80% of hospital beds here are already occupied. But the majority here also, well, that being the case with our healthcare system, a majority here also do not expect the lockdown to lead to any long-term fix. No? The common refrain I keep hearing here is that the government doesn't have a plan. What they're saying is that we didn't have to go through another lockdown if the government had only capitalized on the gains of the previous lockdown to set up a robust system to make sure infections would remain under control. The government could have hired tens of thousands of contact tracers and set up a robust app to enable contact tracing, build decent and livable field hospitals where they can isolate and treat COVID-19 patients. You know, the government did manage to ramp up testing, so that's why we're seeing like from 4,000 to 6,000 cases a day right now. But beyond that, the response has been very inadequate. So when people started going to their offices, visiting malls, dining at restaurants, dropping by for social gatherings or for family reunions, the virus spread quickly and the government didn't have the instruments to slow it down except what we have right now, which is a lockdown.
Raul, on that, over the weekend, 80 groups representing 80,000 doctors and 1 million nurses called for a 2-week timeout from reopening efforts. Why haven't the government and the healthcare sector been seeing eye to eye on managing the outbreak?
Well, first, we have a COVID task force run by former generals. So what they have done is a militaristic lockdown instead of a health quarantine. That's why you see checkpoints manned by soldiers and policemen with assault rifles and arresting quarantine violators. Just yesterday, there was this official who was reprimanded for issuing shoot-to-kill orders for quarantine violators. That's the kind of mentality that is prevalent right now among those enforcing the lockdown. Secondly, our health system really is not built to handle a pandemic like this. We can keep people inside their homes. We can require them to wear masks and social distance. We Filipinos, in fact, wear masks more often than the Japanese or Koreans. But the other requirements of pandemic control, contact tracing, isolation, treatment, we are woefully short in those, no? We don't have anything close to Singapore's contact tracing system. We don't have enough level 3 hospitals to handle a surge in infections. A lockdown really is our most potent weapon. But that is also costing millions of jobs and businesses here. And President Duterte has already said the government doesn't have the money anymore to feed those who have lost their ability to earn a living.
Right. Well, Raul, building on what you said about the healthcare system, are there plans to alleviate the mounting load on the system? And, you know, is it at all possible that the Philippines can take a cue from China in building temporary hospitals?
We can't do a China and build hospitals overnight here, you know. Right now, it's just the lockdown. They are hiring more. Hiring more contact tracers. I understand they want to hire like tens of thousands of contact tracers, and they have built field hospitals. But I'm not really sure why. I don't think these field hospitals are livable right now or have enough personnel or facilities. But anyway. Right now, it's just the lockdown, and hopefully this will lead to fewer infections and allow our hospitals to breathe again.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Raul. That was Philippines correspondent Raul Dancel speaking on the latest COVID-19 situation in the Philippines.
Good evening, I'm Dylan Ang. Let's take a look at the global headlines. In coronavirus news, Australia's Victoria State said that the military will be brought in to enforce COVID-19 isolation orders. 500 personnel will be deployed this week and fines of nearly 5,000 Australian dollars will be issued to those who breach stay-at-home orders. The only exemption will be for urgent medical care. Malaysia's Senior Minister for Security Sabri Yaakob has come out to clarify that face masks must be worn in crowded public places such as markets, tourist destinations and cinemas, but need not be worn in one's own private vehicles. This came after some Malaysians were issued summonses for not wearing masks in their own cars, leading to confusion among the public. In the US, deaths from COVID-19 rose for a fourth week in a row to more than 8,500 deaths in the last week. However, the number of new cases fell for a second straight week. The number of new COVID-19 cases reported last week fell 5% from the previous week to about 435,000. California, Florida and Texas collectively accounted for nearly 180,000 of the new cases. Back home, AirAsia is gearing up for the resumption of flights between Malaysia and Singapore from August 17, following the decision to implement the reciprocal green lane. The carrier said it will begin by launching daily flights between Kuala Lumpur and Singapore and one weekly flight each between Singapore and Penang, Kota Kinabalu, Kuching and Ipoh. A Norwegian entertainment reporter has sued the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, the organization that gives out the Golden Globe Awards, alleging that it acts as a cartel that stifles competition for its members. The antitrust lawsuit said the organization illegally monopolized entertainment reporting in Los Angeles while creating near impossible barriers to entry for new members, because members were, quote, unwilling to share or dilute the enormous economic benefits they receive. The plaintiff had previously applied for membership in 2018 and 2019, but was rejected both times. And those are the headlines around the world. It's back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Dylan. You know, Olivia, I'm excited for National Day this weekend because the mobile column, which is a perennial crowd favorite, is back, although it's scaled down.
Yep, of course. Well, this year's display will feature 66 military assets, down from 171 last year, and it'll make its way into the heartlands for the second year in a row. Here's more.
This year's National Day Parade highlights Singapore's fight against COVID-19. In an NDP first and as part of the tribute to frontline workers, about 100 healthcare workers will be joining the mobile column display. The mobile column for 2020 will make its way into the heartlands.
My mom's a nurse, so I think during the circuit breaker, she would continue to take care of her patients. She does home care, she does palliative care, so she will constantly go to the patient's house to do her house visits and to care for them. I feel very honoured to do this with my commanders and my men, honouring frontline workers, especially their perseverance and dedication during such a pandemic.
The mobile column will make stops at 4 medical facilities: Khoo Teck Puat Hospital, Sengkang General Hospital, Ng Teng Fong General Hospital and Singapore Expo to perform a salute to healthcare workers.
On top of my own frontline duties, I've also been involved in the manning of a government quarantine facility since the onset of the COVID-19. For me personally, I think NDP itself, this year we managed to do it in a small scale. I think it's still important for us because at the end of the day, it's a reminder to us of how far we have come. We all have faced personal struggles, and we have concerns pertaining to our families' livelihoods and safety.
To encourage Singaporeans to stay at home and celebrate, 66 assets such as the Singapore's Police Force Next Generation Fast Response Car and Singapore's Armed Forces Hunter Armoured Fighting Vehicle will collectively travel over 200 kilometres into residential areas.
So on Sunday, do try to catch a glimpse of the mobile column in your neighbourhood. But if you can't, just tune in to the Straits Times' special NDP 2020 show live from 9:30 a.m. on August the 9th.
Now, in the meantime, for more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below. Once again, I'm Haryanto Diman with Olivia Quay. Join us tomorrow for more stories on A Big Story.